Actually, let's do a quick top 5. I've been wanting to do this. I was thinking about it yesterday. I want to give you my top 5 surprises in Dota 2 so far, coming into the game. Apparently, 2 months and 1 week ago. 15 August was my first game. It's been 2 months and a week, and we went from 680 MMR Herald to, checking notes, 1550 MMR Guardian. I don't know why I didn't update yet. I assure you that it just congratulated me with Crusader, with Crusader 1. It just congratulated me. It's true, it didn't update. It's real. Alright, so we over doubled our starting MMR from calibration. My top 5 surprises in Dota 2. Okay, before I ever played, I played another MOBA called Heroes of the Storm. It's kind of a niche game by an indie developer. Some of you may have heard about it, but I wouldn't blame you if you didn't. You can try it out. It's on the uprise right now. And you can download it right now for free at heroesofthestorm.com. It's great. I think it's a very promising game company, and we'll see a lot more cool stuff from them. So anyway, when I was still playing that one, before I was going into Dota 2, I heard the word carry. How did I hear it? From League Frogs and Dota Frogs that came over to HATS. They would play damage dealers and they would call themselves carry, thinking that the game works out the same way, or that they should be coddled like some precious baby or grandma's necklace. Be careful with me. I'm brittle, I'm valuable, and we're gonna win the game. This definition of carry does not hold water and is not true in Heroes of the Storm. In Dota 2, I understand more and more what carry means. Firstly, you're quite useless early game. Your power spike is in the late game. Your power spike is not in the early game. So you should be coddled and protected by the Giga Chats that are your allies. Your support 5 is going to protect you. He's going to ward for you. He's going to harass the opponent to make it as easy for you as possible. Because if you were by your own devices, it would be difficult. Essentially, you get carried in the early game. The mid is getting solo XP, and after that he's going to be the strongest boy on the field for a while, and that's going to allow him to create space via his threat level, by ganks and by being strong, and eventually he'll yield more and more value to you. While both of you remain threats, he's the one that's going to distract Oppo so that position 1 can become the carry that they deserve to be. The carry, I thought of it as someone that is carrying the damage. That's it. I had no idea about this flow and tempo that was in the game of Dota 2. So I thought carry was like an obnoxious term for an obnoxious person playing an obnoxious role. That's how it came across, because the only people that called themselves the carry in HATS were obnoxious. But now I realize it is a kind of teamwork where all of you are working together with different power spikes over the course of the game. And yeah, everyone has different power spikes, and then some heroes are more damage and health dependent. They need high damage, high health, like, you know, a Shadow Fiend auto attacker. He needs a physical damage dealer. He needs good stats. It's no good if he has 1,000 health and 50 damage. But then you take a Disruptor, he is his spells. He can carry the Philosopher's Stone because it doesn't matter. He doesn't need to attack. He is his spells, so he doesn't need the high stats. And when you get attacked, you die unless you have an item that protects you. So you don't need high health either, typically. So I understand now that the carry position is just one part of a grand scheme of strategy. And yeah, that was a surprise to me. Number 2, there's only one map and it's not symmetrical. It's kind of weird. Now, I do have experience with that in Warcraft 3, of course. The maps there are also not necessarily symmetrical. But it's kind of weird that it isn't. Don't you think? I think it is a little weird. When I found out that not only does Radiant and Dire have a somewhat different layout, but also have different like camp placements, that surprised me. Here you have the Dire outposts with very nearby a creep camp, another creep camp, and another. And if you're Medusa or Leshrac, you can pull all of them together and start triple farming them. The travel time between them is also very short. Then you go to Dire, the same thing, the outpost, one camp, one screen away is the next, and one screen away is the next. And here they're all on one screen, right? Here it's 3 screens to comprise them. So how is that fair? How is that balanced? And then I thought, okay, maybe there's like other advantages to one. I mean, it's very intricate. Here you have this tight little gap that's this big, and here it's quite different, right? There are differences to both sides that are difficult to actually completely calculate. But then the stats don't lie either. Isn't Dire just the better win rate? Like, does Dire like in the current patch not have the better win rate? And you see the TI stats. Leshrac, win rate on Dire 68%, on Radiant 37% or something. Radiant has been better since recently. I think Radiant is better at the moment. Dire's way higher. So you see, like, it's not always the same. Could be easily solved if it was asymmetric. If it was symmetric. But what's the beauty of asymmetry? Variation. Just like things have a random damage range, and you can find random items. The very formula that has kept Warcraft 3 fresh for so many years is also true for the map's asymmetry. And little things can be changed by the balancer to help the side that has statistically had a worse experience recently, but overall it just makes for eye candy. Things are different here than they are here, and that's interesting. Differences are interesting. But it did surprise me that could have like that you could have a different map and different balance. Then, third part that surprised me, magic immunity exists. Okay, I'm familiar with that in Warcraft 3. But then there's things that pierce magic immunity. And there's more, but I'm gonna keep this point simple. You can have the BKB and it's gonna keep you safe from all magical things. Except a list of these 27, or is it 150 things? And how do you know whether it can? Well, you just need to know. And there's 123 heroes, and some things will pierce magic immunity, will pierce BKB. And what that exactly means is not necessarily obvious. Enigma's black hole will pierce BKB, as in I turn on BKB, you black hole me, and I'm still gonna be pulled into the black hole. But I won't be hit by magical damage during it. So that's still cool. Unless it's taunts magical damage that pierces BKB with his ultimate. Then the damage will pierce. So it's interesting. And then you've got Venomancer, right? Venomancer has a poison ult. It says it will not pierce BKB. Okay, cool. But if you cast it and it hits someone and then they BKB, in my Warcraft experience, that would mean the effect gets cleansed, it ends. I now have magic immunity, I had previously been poisoned by something magical. It doesn't pierce BKB, so I'm safe now, right? Wrong. When BKB ends, you will still be poisoned and you will possibly die from the effects of it. You didn't take damage during it, but it remained on you. And you'll die from it afterwards. So what happens if you BKB first and then Venomancer casts its ult? Well, then it won't hit you, it won't affect you, and you're entirely safe from its effects forevermore. Okay, how do you know this interaction? Well, you just need to know. Okay, cool, glad we're on the same page. So that's number 3. Number 4. Number 4. Yeah, cannot be dispelled. Yeah, sure, okay, I get it. We know that now. There's other things, cannot be dispelled, blah, blah, blah. Right, but just saying, on the outset, when you go through the tooltips and you think you start to understand the game, this can hit you as a surprise. Number 4, supports are lower on the farming priority. That's why they're position 4 and 5. They're on the bottom of the farming priority. This means they are not supposed to last hit creeps if position 1, 2, or 3 is near and would like to be doing it instead. Okay, I get it. So then how do you get gold? Well, there's passive gold generation. And outposts exacerbate your passive gold generation. It boosts it. So if you steal an enemy outpost, you have more passive gold gain than your opponent. Are there other ways to gain gold? Yes. You've got the Philosopher's Stone. For now, at least. I don't know if it's going to remain part of Dota patches, but you've got the Philosopher's Stone that's going to help one guy, maybe, if you find it, with some bonus gold gain. And then there's the bounty runes that's going to help. The towers, kills can lead to extra XP, even if you're not the one that last hit them, but you helped. An assist can give extra gold, I should say. But then the biggest surprise was the stacking thing. Very early on in one of my Herald unranked games, not even Herald, unranked, my first games, I saw something I did never expect to see. I saw multiple creep camp formations occupying the same slot. That was weird. Must have been a smurf now that I think back of it, because I went through many Herald and Guardian games and nobody ever stacked for me as a support. But in those unranked games, it did happen. So that's a little sussy now that I think back of it. But there was like 4 or 5 stacks of creeps near me as I was playing a core position. So I was like, that's weird. First of all, in Warcraft 3, creep camps never respawn. And secondly, if they were to, I certainly wouldn't expect it to respawn when the creep camp isn't even dead. But apparently that started in Dota 1. By taking them outside of a leash or a check radius, the game trigger of Warcraft 3 thought there is no creep camp, so they're going to respawn one. Players somehow found this out by coincidence or happenstance and then realized they could manipulate it once they understood the rules. Dota started to copy that. Dota 2 started to copy that trigger when they made the game. So now it is a thing where you can stack camps. That's all fine and well. The thing that surprised me is that the supports get money for it when another person on your team clears the stack. I think that's a really elegant and delicate way of helping a support helping the game reward a support for doing something that's good for the team. And with the little ka-ching sound, it becomes auditory satisfaction as well. And you get a cue that someone has cleared your stack and you're going to want to do it again. So it helps you to be a good support. The stack gold was a recent change. Yeah, okay. But the stacking is always a good thing, right? So yeah, that surprised me that you get gold for that. And I think it's a cool mechanic. And then the 5th point, I talked about this a little bit yesterday. The Dota 2 community, I think we can all agree, is one of the most welcoming communities, the welcoming gaming communities to newcomers among all. And least welcoming. Both kind of true at the same time. No? It's kind of true. People are very excited when a new player joins the scene, especially a streamer or a former pro perhaps, and you are welcomed with great enthusiasm. I have never been part of such an enthusiastic, large Twitch stream community. Maybe early StarCraft 2, maybe early WC3. Yeah, okay, I have been part of some enthusiastic communities, but never as a newcomer. In Warcraft 3 SC2, I was a pro player. In Dota, I was not. I had no history with the game. But very, very friendly welcome from so many people. And people love to see the new player experience that they once had many years ago in me. And you're curious, how fast am I going to improve? Or how slow? How bad am I? Right, so that's been really interesting for people to follow. And it's been fun for me. Very fun, very satisfying. But there's the welcoming part. And people are very eager to help and pass on the knowledge that they have learned about the game to me and to each other. You're a very active chat in general, right? Like, your opinion is one thing, or your behavior, but generally you're a very active chat for how many people watch a stream. And you can see the enthusiasm for newcomers and for giving advice there, which I think is really cool. And the least welcoming part, which I saved for next, is that sometimes the enthusiasm is so strong and the desire to see good plays is so strong that you can go a little hard on your streamers or pros that aren't playing perfectly, right? And then that can feel a little daunting sometimes, but I can handle it, no worries. That can feel a little daunting, where everything you do is wrong. And that is not as welcoming for new players, but I can handle it. And that's the duality of it, right? And then the next part is, of course, it's easy to forget when you play a game a lot that newcomers need somewhere to start. Unranked, probably. So if you get angry at a newcomer in unranked, then you're not being conducive to having new people come into the game. So, but I know it. I also get upset in HOTS when I feel like someone new and not very good is on my team. And the better I get at Dota, the more I can feel that frustration. And there's always the paranoia, is it a Smurf or a Griefer, right? So, yeah, that's normal with a more experienced playing community, that it can feel like you want the new players, but you don't want them on your team. And that's okay. And that's my top 5 biggest surprises coming into Dota 2. Now that I am Crusader 1, let's go on to Archon.